They live on the boundary between two worlds, the known and the unknown. They are grounded and centered, yet they are also attuned to the world of spirit, intuition, and higher guidance.
Hey everyone, it's Lynn Durham, and you're listening to Create Magic at Work. Create Magic at Work is on a mission to equip senior leaders with tools they need to be a true quantum leader and actually understand what that means. Improve employee engagement, retain top talent, and transform your workplace culture to have less drama and stress. So let's start making magic.
I just have this gut feeling we're heading for something big. I don't fit in any one box, and that's a good thing. We can't solve this with old thinking. This idea might sound wild, but hear me out. Some people need proof before belief, but Edgewalkers believe first, and that belief builds the future. Hey everyone, it's Lynn Durham, and welcome back to Create Magic at Work. You've just joined us for episode 6 of the Archetypes of Change Summer Solo Series, where we're exploring how people move through change, not just logistically, but emotionally, relationally, and even spiritually. If you're just tuning in, the Archetypes of Change was created by Dr. Judy Neal, one of my mentors, and it offers 5 distinct ways that people relate to change. There's 5 total archetypes. The heart tenders, who are the caregivers who cultivate belonging and operational harmony. The guardians, who are the protectors that anticipate risk and defend what's working. The placeholders, who are the stabilizers that ground teams and rhythm and tradition. The flame keepers, who are the purpose-driven stewards who protect core values. And then there's the Edgewalkers, the visionaries, who sense and shape the future before others can see it. If you go back through these quick, bite-sized episodes throughout the summer, you'll hear that we've already met the placeholder, the guardian, the flame keeper, and the hearth tender. And you can go back and listen to a deeper dive into what those archetypes are. But today, we are diving into one of the archetypes that's the closest to my own heart, which is the Edgewalker. Next week, we'll do a wrap-up episode where we'll reflect on how all of these archetypes work together and what they reveal about your team, and how we at Create Magic at Work apply this framework in executive coaching. But let's get into the Edgewalkers. So I discovered the Edgewalker work a few years ago. I've been an executive coach for about 5 years now. And one of my areas that I really hone in on with clients is going beyond emotional intelligence and into spiritual intelligence from a faith neutral lens. I left my corporate job in May of 2019 and wanted to pursue this life purpose thing of re-injecting myself back into the corporate space and showing that it can be a win-win when we teach people and teams to see the humanity in each other. And I didn't really know how I was going to do that. I just knew that this was something, this was a call, this was a sense that I couldn't ignore. And later, when I discovered, in 2023, when I discovered the Edgewalker work, it made so much sense to me, because one of the skills of an Edgewalker is sensing the future and risk-taking. And I actually had done both by leaving my corporate job and taking a leap of faith into what would be next. And that road has not been simple. It has been full of twists and turns and bumps and bruises and meeting. I like to look at it now as a journey I'm on. And I'm walking down this path in my life, and I meet different characters along the way, some helpful, some full of learning lesson moments. But I digress. Anyways, back to the Edgewalker work. So when I was doing this spiritual intelligence work, when I first started Create Magic at Work, I was speaking on podcasts talking about spiritual intelligence. I discovered the SQ21 framework, which is the 21 skills of spiritual intelligence for the workplace. And it just blew me away. It is a set of skills that you can literally practice your entire life. And so that is a main tool that we use here at Create Magic at Work, helping people understand the difference between their ego versus their higher self, and how can we be wise and compassionate leaders, and how can we be wise and effective change agents, which is skill 18 in the SQ21 work that we use. Well, I started looking at skill 18, being a wise and effective change agent, and what that really means. And I was studying it and exploring it. And one of the recommends for doing deep work in being a wise and effective change agent was Dr. Judy Neal's Edgewalker work. And I saw the word and I was like, oh my gosh, Edgewalker, I think I'm an Edgewalker. That the word just jumped out at me on the page. You'll hear in this episode more about what Edgewalkers are like as one of the archetypes of change. But one of the art pieces that I hold dear all the time, and it was always kind of a calling card for Create Magic at Work, is this beautiful illustration by Mary Bell Martin, who does all of the illustrations for Create Magic at Work. And it's a few characters. I think it's like a mini Chewbacca and a couple of different mermaid types in the water. And the phrase on the illustration says, "We are all weird here. Welcome home. We are all weird here. Welcome home." And I just loved that for Create Magic at Work. I love interviewing the outspoken misfits for the workplace. I love hearing people push the edge of what can be. And it just made so much sense that after 3 years of working in the spiritual intelligence executive coaching space, that I would stumble upon the Edgewalker work and the archetypes of change. So personal story there of how much the Edgewalker work has meant for me and my company and the archetypes of change. So what is an Edgewalker and what are they here for? So if you go back to the other episodes and listen to the placeholder and the guardian and the hearth tender and the flame keeper, you'll recognize who that archetype is in the workplace and the people that you work with that have those qualities or those shadow sides of that. And there's actually a lot of tools in the workplace already that are created that support the hearth tenders and the placeholders and the guardians. But Dr. Judy found that there wasn't much that supported Edgewalkers. And so she took it upon herself to create an Edgewalker structure, which is 5 skills and 5 qualities of an Edgewalker. I've already mentioned one before, which is sensing the future. I mentioned another one, which is risk-taking. So if you think of the flame keeper, the tools for a flame keeper kind of show up in values-based leadership models, purpose-driven organizations, placeholders. You'll find them kind of celebrated in operational excellence systems like DISC, if you've heard of DISC, or Six Sigma. If you think of the guardians that are covered by risk management, compliance protocols, lots of project management tools, and the hearth tenders, they would, I would think, be the champions of emotional intelligence assessments, employee engagement type platforms, team morale trackers. But Edgewalkers, those who see into the future, those who sense into the future, those who challenge the status quo, not just to be a rebel, but because they can sense a new horizon. There didn't seem to be a language or a support structure for that. So we have a unique skill and quality matrix for the Edgewalker. There's 5 qualities, 5 skills. The 5 qualities are self-awareness, passion, integrity, vision, and playfulness. And the 5 skills are sensing the future, risk-taking, manifesting, focusing, and bridging worlds. Edgewalkers are the ones who take us into the future. They live on the boundary between two worlds, the known and the unknown. They are grounded and centered, yet they are also attuned to the world of spirit, intuition, and higher guidance. Edgewalkers are guided by a deep inner knowing, and their lives are often marked by synchronicity and meaning. We need Edgewalkers now more than ever to help us navigate change, bridge differences, and envision new ways of being in the world. Let me tell you a story about a client of mine that's an Edgewalker. We'll call her Sonia for confidentiality reasons. Sonia worked as an innovation lead at a global consumer brand. She had really bold ideas, and her peers often felt they were too bold and too out there. She would propose ideas based on her intuition before trends emerged. And she actually saw the rise of micro influencers before it had a name. She sensed that wellness and sustainability would converge into a global movement 5 years before the C-suite even cared. But people often said she's out there, and she was. She was out there on the edge. But slowly, people seemed to notice that her quote unquote crazy ideas worked, and that her early pivots saved the company millions. And when COVID hit, she had some off the wall contingency plans. She ended up being the most trusted voice in the room. She was able to bridge data with intuition, culture with commerce, and logic with magic. And Sonia was an Edgewalker. I personally took the Edgewalker profile, which is available through Create Magic at Work at createmagicatwork.net. And I personally took it for the first time in the beginning of 2023 when I was becoming an Edgewalker facilitator. And I didn't know what I was going to come back as, or if I was even going to come back showing that I was an Edgewalker, but I did come back an Edgewalker. And looking back at that moment and looking at where I was 2.5 years ago, 5 years ago when I left my corporate job, I mean, it definitely makes sense now. I was sensing something. I was following my intuition. I was risk-taking. And then when I stepped into the world of building Create Magic at Work, the brand, and starting executive coaching, and now Create Magic at Work is an executive coaching firm, I can really look back and see how much of an Edgewalker I have been and how I resonate with that archetype so much. I was so new to the space. And it's interesting because 5 years ago, before the Create Magic at Work podcast started, which the Create Magic at Work podcast is about 3.5 years old now. But when I first started in the podcasting space, I was guesting on podcasts talking about spiritual intelligence for work and spiritual intelligence for the workplace. And everyone that interviewed me just was like, how are you talking about spirituality at work? How can this even, the most common question I would get is, what's the pushback you're getting on this? You're talking about spirituality at work. Because in these spaces, we weren't allowed to talk about these things, especially in a lot of organizations. The directive from HR was like, do not go there. Do not talk about this, because everyone was afraid of being sued. But this was different. And I did feel like an Edgewalker. And now, 5 years later, it seems like it's much more accepted in the workplace. I hear a lot of people talking about spirituality at work and spirituality in the workplace. And I'm not getting that question anymore as much about like, what pushback do you get? So looking back, I guess I was sort of sensing something that felt a little crazy, sensing what's to come. And now it's here, and it's so much more widely accepted that this discussion is happening for people at work, because it's a big part of who we are. And it's a big part of leading with wisdom and compassion and making decisions that ripple out to our communities and to the planet and to humanity as a whole. So Edgewalkers are often seen as visionaries. They're often seen as outliers. I can definitely relate to that one with the story I just shared, the outlier. When I first started talking about all of this on podcasts, the creative disruptors and the bridge builders between worlds, business and spirit, future and present. Edgewalkers are future oriented. Time is not linear to them. It's a spiral. It could be a spiral. One of my dear friends, Dr. Aaron Tobacco, did an amazing Edgewalker cafe on quantum presence, where he explored time not being linear. Go check it out. You can access all Edgewalker cafe videos on edgewalker.org if you ever want to see that. But they sense trends, they feel energy, and they intuit what's coming. Edgewalkers can often feel misunderstood. They can feel too much for some people. They feel energized by the unknown, grounded by spiritual or intuitive practices. And when Edgewalkers are integrated, they are the inventors of new systems. They're the catalysts for transformation. They're the translators between traditional and emerging worlds or paradigms. And they are the change leaders who hold the torch and light new paths.
Hey everyone, Amy here. Let's talk about work realities for a second. Whether you're dealing with a tough boss, struggling with team miscommunication, feeling stuck in decision making, let's be real, work drama exists and it's exhausting, but it doesn't have to be this way. At Create Magic at Work, we help leaders like you cut through the chaos, build next level communication skills, and make better, faster decisions without the stress spiral. Whether you're leading a team or just trying to keep your sanity at work, we've got your back. We coach executives and teams like yours to develop interpersonal savvy, drive engagement, and bring your vision and purpose to life so work actually feels energizing again. Imagine that. More engagement, more productivity, less drama. Our executive coaching team has been in your shoes. We've led teams, navigated workplace challenges, and know what it takes to help you succeed and achieve your goals. Real experience, real talk, and real results. If you're thinking, yes, Amy, we need this at my work, then let's talk. Click the link in the show notes and let us help you and your teams become a high-performing, engaged, and productive force of clarity and calm. I'll see you in the Zoom room. Let's throw the stress and drama out the window. Click on the link in the show notes.
Like with all of the archetypes, there are some blind spots or some shadows that the Edgewalker has. So, what are some Edgewalker shadows? Edgewalkers can push change too fast without bringing others along with them. One of the biggest, well, I shouldn't say one of the biggest, but a shadow of the Edgewalker is they have this strong sense of vision. They can sense what's to come. They can manifest it. But a shadow part of that is not ensuring that your team understands the vision. So then people feel like they're not being brought along with you. They can struggle to ground their ideas in reality. Some Edgewalkers could become isolated. I think I've heard mentioned that a lot of Edgewalkers live on the edge of towns. So they could be misunderstood at times or written off. Burnout could happen if they're trying to hold that future vision alone. Sometimes they could reject structure altogether, even when it serves them. So if left unchecked, Edgewalkers could become even martyrs for innovation or spiritual bypassers who lose touch with real world impact. Those are the blind spots or the shadows. What's really cool with Create Magic at Work is when we coach Edgewalkers, we focus on grounding their energy so their gifts can be received, translating their intuition into practical strategy that helps others understand their vision and come along with their vision. We help Edgewalkers create rituals between the inner and the outer world and build partnerships across the other archetypes, especially with the guardians and the placeholders. So we help them stay in their visionary lane without isolating from the collective. With the archetypes of change work, it helps teams value their Edgewalkers, not just tolerate them. As with all of the archetypes, I know, speaking from the Edgewalker space, being an Edgewalker, before I was a little older, a little wiser, and understood the archetypes of change, put me as an Edgewalker in a room with a guardian. Oh boy, watch out. I did not have any patience for it. I did not have time to hear the guardians' negativity, to hear them pointing out what's going to go wrong with my visionary plan and why we can't do it. And I had no time for that. They were in my way and they needed to get out of my way. That was Amy probably a decade or so ago. But now, hopefully, if you've listened to this whole summer series, you can see that you can use the guardian to your advantage if you are an Edgewalker and vice versa. You can work together from a place of understanding in how each other relates to change and see them as an integral part of the team and how it helps you move through change. So like if it was me today, and if I had a guardian on my team that was pointing out risk nonstop when I was sharing my amazing visionary plan, I would go to the guardian and I would say, what do you see could go wrong here? I want to hear from you. I would recognize them and give them a voice and own that that's their part on my team. So what a long way I have come in my leadership and learning. And that's why I love this so much, because we see these aha moments and these insights when we're using these frameworks and tools with companies and leaders in the workplace with Create Magic at Work. So ask yourself, who in your team is sensing what's coming before others do? Who makes others uncomfortable because they're ahead? Who blends vision with values, future with feeling? Who can bridge seemingly different worlds together, whether it's different departments, different realms? And who needs help turning their brilliance into buy-in? I think that might be your Edgewalker. And if it's you, this world needs your edge. And you don't have to go it alone. Find the flame keepers, find your heart tenders, your guardians, your placeholders, and come together, because change is a team sport. So this week, if you lead an Edgewalker, give them some space to speak ideas before they're fully formed. Create psychological safety for their spiritual language. Ask them what they sense but not yet can see. And if you are an Edgewalker, ground your energy before important conversations. Don't wait for external permission to lead, because you are the bridge builder and the change maker of the world. And make space for rest, intuition, and integration. Thank you so much for joining me on this summer solo series where I dove into the archetypes of change for all of you. It was something that I took a risk in doing because I so love having conversations with guests. But I thought this would be really playful and Edgewalker quality to try this. And I hope it has brought some magic to you. And I hope it's got you thinking about how you relate to change and time, and how others that you work with relate to change and time. Next week, I'm going to wrap this summer series with a final reflection on how all 5 archetypes of change work together and how they show up in ourselves and in our teams. But until then, trust your visions, trust what you're sensing, walk the edge, and know that you are not alone. We are all weird here. Welcome home. My favorite. illustration there. I'll see you next week. Sending magic your way.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.